Are you struggling to get pregnant? Are you experiencing infertility, which is so hard for so many women? In fact, 1 in 8 couples experience this, and it's heartbreaking. So, I am bringing on a special guest today, Margot Thornton. She's a fertility specialist, and she helps women naturally through different techniques without medication conceive. This is going to be a really interesting conversation. And I know that many of you women out there that are struggling are just looking for answers. So this is going to be really informative. Stay tuned for a really captivating discussion. Thank you so much for being with me here today. So Margot is a fertility coach and she specializes in helping women that are having trouble conceiving. She helps them do it in a kind of a different way, more natural. So Margot, thank you so much for being with me here today. I appreciate your time and expertise. And I'm really curious to see what you have to say about all of this, because I do personally believe that if something is not happening like this, we were born to have babies, right? We were born to make babies. Like, why is it not happening? So tell us a little bit about what you see in the women that you serve.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. Happy to be here. And yeah, a lot of women nowadays do struggle to conceive. It takes them a lot longer to get pregnant. And I think there are a lot of different factors that go into that. One of which being, just the environment that we live in today, between all the different chemicals and plastics and all of that in the environment, but also the speed of life and society, the go, go, go kind of mentality in our culture. I think that really is a detriment, especially women. And it doesn't quite resonate with our natural cycles. And so when we try to do what you said as a natural process, oftentimes we struggle with that because we're operating at the speed that's our bodies just aren't meant to handle. And we're often under that chronic stress, which can really kind of block us from our optimal health and wellness.
Yeah, I think stress, and I know stress is epidemic, right? Everybody's like living in that fight or flight type of life, which is not good for anyone on any level. So, how do you get women to kind of look a little bit deeper into what they can do to help their bodies conceive?
Yeah, and that's a really great point. Just to let them know that there are other options out there. I know personally for me, when I went to the doctor after trying to conceive, well, first of all, if you're considered 35 and older, you're advanced maternal age. And they recommend, if you're 35 and younger, they say, well, wait a year of trying before going to your doctor to do anything. That can be frustrating in and of itself. It's like, I don't want to wait a whole year. What can I do? There are things you can do ahead of time. And then if you're advanced maternal age, then that time is shortened. They say, okay, after 6 months, then go to the doctor. That's a shame because there's so much that women can do and really should be doing before they even start to conceive to set themselves up for optimal success. And now I forgot the rest of your question.
So, can you talk about some of the things that you feel that women need to do prior to? And then let me just say one thing: when doctors say that to you, that just puts this terrible mindset into place that is detrimental to you conceiving. If a doctor says, yeah, you're going to have more trouble after age 35, like, then you have that in your head. And I know that you work with the mindset piece as well. So let's talk about the things that you feel like are really important so that women can have easy, healthy, be able to get pregnant, at a reasonable time, and then like to sustain the pregnancy, what they need to do that. So they're all connected. If the body's not healthy enough to conceive, then that's why there are a lot of women that do go through medical practices and whatnot. Then they end up losing those babies a lot of times statistically. And that's just beyond heartbreaking. You know what I mean? So let's talk about what we need to do both on a physiological level, emotional level, spiritual level, so that the body is more open to, conceiving.
Yeah, definitely. That's exactly it. Basically, getting our bodies in optimal health. Fertility is like a vital sign for health. There's a book by that name, The Fifth Vital Sign. If something's off with our fertility, it's an indication that something with our underlying health is off. And so we need to really find that root cause and resolve that before trying to get pregnant. And that's where a lot of times when people rush to IVF, they're just so focused on the reproductive system only as if that's the problem, when it's really a whole mind body approach that I take. And that's because it's all connected, like you said. And so that's exactly it, starting with mindset and being mindful of not just what you're thinking, but also what you're putting in your body, what you're surrounding yourself with, everything from products that you use to people that you are with, or do you find your energy being drained or uplifted by the people that you're around? I know as women, we have a tendency to this people pleasing and trying to help everyone else and maybe not saying no and putting up boundaries because of the way we were raised. But really, when we do that, we then say yes to ourselves and we give ourselves the permission to work on ourselves, to become more in tune with our bodies. And then we're able to balance our bodies from there. But there's a lot more that goes into it, right? Eating right, the right supplements, all of these pieces. There's so many different pieces, and it's a delicate balance. But once you start to work on one piece somewhere, the other part of the body in its wise intelligence responds. So it's not, you don't have to be 100% perfect. Just small, consistent changes over time make a huge impact. And oftentimes it's just these patterns that we get stuck in that maybe serve us for a certain time. But then once we acknowledge that they served us and we can release them, then we can come back to the patterns that are better for our optimal wellness and fertility.
So where would you start somebody? Would you start with nutrition? Would you start with stress management? Would you start with exercise? Like all the things, right? Where would you
Yeah.
start?
Yeah, so all those things are so important. But when I start working with folks, I don't want to overwhelm them more because a lot of times they've been maybe on the journey for a while and they have all these different approaches in the kitchen sink. And sometimes that's too much, right? Less is more sometimes. So I joke with fertility math that it's less is more. It's what can you take off your plate as opposed to add on. But then we look at what makes sense, what hasn't been working, what has been working, coming up with a unique fertility strategy for each individual. But overarching, I work with people in my program to guide them through first looking at mindset and mindfulness, and really because that sets the tone for everything. Becoming more aware, like I mentioned, of your patterns, of what you're putting in your body and all of that. And then layering in the nutrition piece, right? Because that's so crucial, as I know you're well aware of, making sure we're eating the right foods for our body, that we're not eating things that may cause inflammation and throw other things off down the road. And then tied to that, go on.
Yeah. So do you recommend supplementation right out of the gates?
Depending on, we take a look at where you're at. I do an assessment with my clients because a lot of them already are on things, and whatever changes that we may make, doing it slowly and with partnering with their doctors, right? Because I'm not a medical doctor, so I can advise my clients to take a look at a couple supplements. Out of the gate, it's pretty safe to say everybody should be on a quality prenatal. Like those are things that are basic, making sure that it has folate and not just folic acid. So things like that, vitamin D is a pretty standard where a lot of women are deficient, depending on where you are in the world, especially when maybe, I know right now where I'm at, the sun is not as out as often here in the winter. So that's another common area that's pretty safe. So there's a couple things that are pretty safe that we look at. And then depending on the situation, I may suggest other ones down the road.
Right. So important. So important. Yeah. I mean, it's just, I personally feel like it's the stress that people are under, like living in that state of fight or flight. When you're in like high cortisol, it's the hormones out of balance. So
Exactly. And that is a key piece of my coaching for sure, because when we're in that survival mode, our body is not sending signals to reproduce. It's just It's just not in that chronic survival mode.
Yeah.
That chronic fight or flight is the issue. So we work on rebalancing our nervous system, regulating our stress, and then shifting out of survival mode into reproductive mode. So then the body knows what to do from there. Yeah, exactly.
Right. I mean, that I think is key. So let the audience know like how they can get a hold of you, or we can put it in the description as well. Tell us what's the best way. Do you have people, do you do a free consult? Do you
Yeah. If you're interested or know someone that is interested in getting support on their fertility journey, feel free to reach out to me. You can email me, Margot at pathwaytopregnancy.com, or find me on Instagram and Facebook at Fertility Coach Margot. And you can message me there as well, whichever is easier. And I'm happy to chat with anybody to see how I could help support them.
fantastic? All right, Margot, this has been great. I hope that women will take heed and try to get their stress levels down, the nutrition up. Exercise is great also to bring the stress levels down. So I'm sure you recommend that for your clients as well. Good luck, all of you, on your fertility journey. And just know that your body was meant to do this. And if it's not doing it, then something is out of balance. Get to the root cause and you'll be good. Any last words?
Thank you. And yeah, just know that there's other options out there, whether it's me or somebody else, and also seek support. The emotional support piece we didn't really cover as much, but that's really crucial too. Make sure that you have a team to support you on your fertility journey because you're not alone. Sometimes it can feel so isolating and challenging.
That's a great idea for sure. And I'm sure there's groups that support each other.
Yeah, come on over to my group. I have a private Facebook group too. You can check out as well if you're needing more support that way too.
I'll put that in the description as well. All right. Well, thanks for watching. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and we'll see you again.